Hey, welcome back into the Shopfix channel, a community joined together for the love of woodworking. In this episode, I want to share with you my top 5 tips that I learned while woodworking down at Pittsburgh State University. Now, I didn't go to school there, but I recently got invited down there through a friend, and he was a graduate from the university, and they taught me a ton of stuff. We built some stuff there, so it was just an immersive experience in the wood tech program. And so I came out with it with a bunch of tips, a bunch of new knowledge. But in this video, I'm gonna share the top 5 tips that I learned, and I think you'll find them really valuable. Stick around. Over the years, one of my top priorities, especially when designing a wood shop, is making sure that I have room to store lumber properly. And so I have the big lumber rack behind me, it's level, and it stores lumber quite well. The way that you store lumber is important, but sometimes we forget why wood bows in the first place. So he explained to me that a lot of the lumber at Home Depot, you'll see the top board is completely warped and then the rest are fine. And so that has to do with how the wood acclimates to the environment. One of the professors named Charlie there showed me how quickly wood can warp if it's exposed to moisture. So he took a piece of veneer and sprayed the top with just some water, and it started warping really fast. And obviously the veneer, since it's thin, it's gonna warp much faster. But you know, the sheet at Home Depot on the top, it's thicker, but over time, if it's exposed to moisture on the top, it'll bow out of alignment. And so the main thing here is that one side of the wood is being exposed to the elements differently than the other side. So it happens in the reverse. If the outside layer of wood is in a dry environment, it might dry out faster than the other side of the lumber. And so it's all about acclimating the lumber to the elements equally on both sides. So the first method is simply putting the wood on skids. And you see this a lot when someone slabs a big log. And this isn't just to keep them level. You know, obviously it does, but it's not just because there's slats that keep them level. It's because the air is able to circulate through the lumber, which makes the lumber acclimate the same on both sides of the piece, which makes it stay flat. Now, the second way that you can prevent wood from warping by being exposed to elements on one side pretty bad is by covering the lumber. So if you're getting done with a glue up, or if you had some wood that you recently worked on and you don't want it to bow out of alignment, you're gonna wanna cover that with maybe cardboard or a blanket. By covering the surface of the wood, you basically eliminate it from being exposed to the elements. So those are the 2 tips to store your lumber properly, and I thought that was a really cool lesson that I learned there. And so let's go on to tip number 2. The next tip that I learned has to do with processing lumber on the jointer, and more specifically, when to know when a board is jointed properly. Now, oftentimes, I'll take a straight edge to check the face after I'm done jointing, or to check the edge. And that's just to quickly reference if it's straight and it's done being jointed. However, a current student there, when I was working alongside him, he always took a pencil and marked the face of the piece of wood, or wherever you're jointing. So you could do this on the face of the lumber, and you do it the entire length of the lumber, or you could do this on the edge of the lumber as well. The trick works for the face and the edge. And so after he marked the whole board like that, whenever he jointed or sanded a board, he would know that it's done properly, because eventually all of the markings, if he was using a pencil or whatever he was using, it would all be gone. It would all be sanded or jointed away. And so that's the trick here, is that you don't need to reference a straight edge or a flat surface, because you know that when all of your pencil line is gone, that means it's straight. And so let me show you that. I'm really glad that Nathan shared this tip with me, because it's so quick and efficient to know when a board is jointed properly, and so you can move on to the next board really fast, and there's no more wasting time on the jointer making unnecessary passes. All right, let's move on to the next tip. My next tip has to do with gluing up your projects. Now, I often use Titebond wood glue. This is Titebond 3. You can buy Titebond 2. There's various types of wood glue that you can use on a project, whether it's indoor or outdoor, or how much strength that you need. However, the tip here that I learned is that Titebond makes a fluorescent glue. It's Titebond 2 Florescent. After it dries, you can actually turn off the lights, get a black light, and use a black light over your project, and it'll indicate where there's still dried glue, because that's gonna mess up with your stain. So if you ever had a project where you've stained the lumber and there's some dry glue that you didn't see, and it makes the stain look like a different color, because the glue will take the stain a little bit differently than the wood, and it just unsightly, and you're like, dang it, I wish I had sanded that more. Well, the Titebond 2 fluorescent glue enables you to know exactly where that glue is still present, so you can sand it more. So you can turn off the lights in your shop, get a black light, go over your project, and the Titebond 2 fluorescent glue will actually shine in the dark, and then you'll know, okay, this is where I need to sand the glue off. And so I thought that was a really cool tip. I didn't know that Titebond made a glue like that. So if you're having that problem, and that might be something that you need to get, that fluorescent glue. All right, let's move on to the next tip. When working with large pieces of lumber or running large quantities of lumber across our jointers, our table saws, and our planers, we want to make sure that the cast iron surfaces are nice and smooth to make this process much easier. And some people have used paste finishing wax and rubbed it along the cast iron surface to make it more smooth and make the boards slide much better. However, when the wood comes into contact with the finishing wax, it'll actually finish it a little bit, and unless you sand it off at the end, it'll actually affect the staining process. My tip here is to use a much better option, which is candle making wax. And that's what Nathan used down at Pitt State. He applied that to the joiner bed to make sure that our boards slid smoothly. For my next tip, I have 4 cedar boards here, and we're going to be doing a mock glue up. The tip is in regards to making sure you have perfect seams. We're going to be using something called the IO method, and Nathan, a current student at Pitt State, taught me this method. And it's super simple once you learn how to do it, and it's going to make it to where you have perfect seams for your joints every time. So when you're doing the IO method, I stands for inside and O stands for outside. So the I's will go on the inside of the fence and the O will be on the outside of the fence. So on these edges, since they're the outside of our panel, we won't need to joint those. We'll start with I. So this will be the inside of the fence, O for the outside, I for the inside, O for the outside, I for the inside, O for the outside. Now, when we go to joint these boards, if there's an I, we'll put this face into the fence. If it's an O, we'll face this board out from the fence, and so on and so forth. And when we go to match these up, they'll be perfect seams. Another tip that you're going to want to remember is to always draw a triangle on your boards so you can easily match them back up. So we've properly jointed these boards depending on if it was outside or inside, and now when we bring these boards together, they're perfectly flush. The reason why the IO method works so great when joining boards and creating perfect flush seams is because it's compensating for any inaccuracy in your jointer fence. So I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that my fence was at a perfect 90-degree angle because I was relying on it to make sure it gave me great seams and flush jointed edges. However, with the IO method, you don't have to rely on the accuracy of the jointer fence. The reason why the IO method works so great to compensate for any inaccuracies in the fence. Imagine if I had done both of these boards on the inside, so face the board inward. If there was a discrepancy on the angle of the jointer fence, when matched together, that inaccuracy would be doubled. However, since I did one board on the outside and one board on the inside. It matches that because the discrepancy in the angle is exact opposite to one another, so when you match it together, it creates a perfect scene. Well, my time down at Pitt State, I learned a ton of tips, tricks, and techniques, some using advanced machines that are seen in industrial wood shops, but I hope these 5 tips are transferable to your own wood shop. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button. And as always, I wish you the best of luck with your future woodworking projects. Take care.